of schedule. Thank you very much. So it is the end of the day, so there may be others joining. So well, thank you very much. I'm Pat Nestor, in Building Control of Dublin City Council. The Building Control Department is charged with the enforcement of the Building Control Act, the building regulations and the building control regulations. And we have the Building Control Department is a full-time function to carry out this task. I may have a mix of people here in terms of professions, but if you're in the construction professions, you'll be familiar with the technical building regulations, which are set out in the technical guidance documents covering structure requirements, fire safety standards, resistance to moisture, sound resistance standards, conservation of fuel and energy, very important, accessibility, and others there. So they're set out in the technical guidance documents that are regularly updated by the Department of the Environment on an ongoing basis. And fire safety is expected to be a new version published later this year. To support the achievement of these minimum technical standards, there are an accompanying set of regulations called the Building Control Regulations, which are procedures to support the achievement of the minimum technical standards on site. They consist of commencement notices submitted to the Building Control Authority. All of the certification introduced in March 2014 is part of the Building Control Regulations. Fire safety certificates, disability access certificates. All of these are processes to support the technical standards and to demonstrate through the course of a project and at the end of a project that the works are constructed to meet the minimum technical codes. The image there is the Code of Practice for Inspecting and Certifying Buildings and Works, and this was published with the introduction of the Building Control Amendment Regulations in March 2014. So it sets out the roles, responsibilities of all of the stakeholders, the owners, designers, assigned certifiers, builders, and the Building Control Authority, right through the various stages of a project. Now, to help everybody and the Building Control Authority as well to oversee the Building Control Regulations and to comply with them, there is the National Online Building Control Management System, or the BCMS. It is a program that's administered by the Local Government Management Agency. It's online, available 24 hours a day. There are now, as of Monday, 46,975 registered users on the system, and over 18,900 notices have been submitted. Commencement notices, 7-day notices. So these are our projects where a valid notice of commencement has been submitted on the system since the 1st of March. The Certificate of Compliance on Completion, the Completion Cert, is also now submitted online through the system, and these numbers are mounting up quickly as well. Later this year, or early in 2017, the fire safety certificates applications and disability access certificate applications will also be submitted online through the BCMS. So the process of sending in 2 paper copies of your fire safety certificate will end. It will be submitted, uploaded onto the BCMS. So the plan is that the BCMS will be cover all aspects of the building control requirements, and every interaction with building control will be done through the BCMS in terms of issuing approvals, issuing certificates, and the like. So the work of the Building Control Division then in Dublin City, our priority is the inspection of construction sites to monitor builders and owners' compliance with the requirements of the building regulations. So we have a team that's dedicated to inspecting active construction sites. We also administer the disability access certificates. The applications are submitted to us in Dublin City Council. They are assessed technically, and a determination is made on the decision. DACs are granted, refused, or granted with conditions attached. The BCMS system is also administered in our office in terms of how it applies to Dublin City Council area. So the commencement notices are checked and made valid or invalid by our administrative team. 7-day notices, likewise, the opt-out commencement notices are now also submitted through the system, and the short commencement notices, and the all-important certificate of compliance on completion. So this certificate of compliance on completion is the goal that everyone involved in a construction project needs to keep their eye on. Every single stage, right through construction, every decision that's made must be considered in terms of the impact it may have on the certificate of compliance on completion at the end. Every decision that is taken could have an adverse impact on the ability to get this certificate on the register. It is an offence to open, operate, or occupy a building. So, if you haven't done the right things right through the project, it's very, very difficult to get this certificate at the end. It will be rejected and returned to you by the Building Control Authority. So a few of the other functions that we carry out. The construction products regulations. We are a market surveillance authority along with every other building control authority in the country for the CPR, which is the CE mark essentially. So we're all familiar with the CE mark, and all construction products now that are subject to harmonised standards in the European Union must carry the CE mark. This includes now construction, most products, concrete blocks, insulation, structural steel, and many, many, many more. We also enforce the requirements of building energy ratings, the BER certificates. We are an enforcement authority along with the SEAI for the European Union Energy Performance of Buildings Regulations 2012. So the BER certificate is familiar to everybody. It's an offence to advertise for sale or to let a building without a BER certificate or where one is required. There are some exceptions, such as protected structures. This is monitored and enforced by the Building Control Authority in Dublin. One of our other functions is the safety of temporary stages and grandstands at large outdoor events, such as Ed Sheeran stage at Croke Park last year. So that was quite the structure, and this is Bruce Springsteen's setup a few weeks ago in Croke Park as well. So that's another one of our jobs, to make sure that the proper procedures are in place to make sure that these temporary structures are safe, fit for purpose, and will be able to withstand any of the forces that may impact on them during their short period of time that they are erected. So our priority being the inspection of construction sites, and this is how we enforce the requirements of the regulations. All construction sites are notified to the Building Control Authority via the BCMS Building Control Management System. So all the commencement notices and 7-day notices are available to us. We select sites typically every month in terms of ones that will be inspected by the building control officers. Not every site is inspected, but a very large number of sites in Dublin are inspected. Essentially every single new building under construction in Dublin right now is being inspected by building control officers. We prioritise certain types of buildings, new apartment buildings, multi-unit housing developments, schools, hospitals, shopping centres. These would all be at the higher end of our priority list for inspection. So once a site is selected to be inspected, it will be visited early on in its construction, as early as possible, and then it will be visited again on a regular and recurring basis by the building control officer. And it will normally be the same officer returning right through the project, so the person will be familiar with the project until it is complete. So this gives a very good picture to the Building Control Authority in terms of how the building is being constructed through its construction stage. And any issues that arise then can normally be dealt with on the site with the builder and the design team. So in 2015, over 400 individual building sites were inspected by building control officers. More than 1,200 inspections were carried out. So there's multiple and recurring inspections on these sites. These would include complaints as well that are submitted to the Building Control Authority from members of the public regarding construction work, carried out by neighbours or sites that are having an impact on people's private property. So we receive several complaints, and also, believe it or not, some people carry out construction work without submitting a commencement notice. So that is very often the cause of complaint to us as well. And that's a great difficulty if a building owner proceeds with a construction job without submitting the commencement notice in advance. To begin with, it's an offence, and they can be prosecuted by the Building Control Authority. But also it makes it nigh on impossible to achieve a completion certificate at the end of the project. It creates great difficulties for the building owner in that instance. And that is, the investment that the building owner is making is put in real risk in those circumstances. So in terms of when we find issues on site, we have enforcement options. The building control authorities across the country have a whole suite of powers to enforce the regulations. Normally, this pyramid of enforcement, persuasion, advisory letters, verbal discussions on the site are normally enough to affect change on the site. If standards are slipping, if a defect has been identified by the building control officer, then explaining this to the builder and is normally enough to ensure that it is corrected. It may be necessary to issue a warning letter setting out what the defects are, what remedies are required, and what the consequences are for not correcting those remedies. And in those two options, I don't know if I have a laser pointer. No. But the bottom two there these are opportunities for the building owner and the builder and the design team to get the project back on track. If the warning letters are ignored, or if work is continuing on in an unsatisfactory manner in the view of the Building Control Authority, if agreement between the building control officer and the builder cannot be reached, an option is to serve an enforcement notice on the building owner and the builder. So it's a serious matter when an enforcement notice is served. Although it gives an opportunity to the building owner, if they disagree with building control, they can appeal this to the district court, and the judge can adjudicate if there is disagreement as to whether or not works are compliant with the requirements of the building regulations or not. So, however, it is a serious matter to be served with an enforcement notice. Other options that we have are to go to the court for a court order to stop work or to prohibit a building from being occupied. We can also take a summary prosecution in the district court against persons for breach of building regulations or building mark, so it's compliant with the construction products regulations. So structural steel is required to be marked with the CE mark now, and if it's not marked, then it may be that steel would have to be removed from the project. This is an example of a drain pressure testing kit that a small builder had on site. So this is simple equipment but very effective. Drains must be tested, must be air tested, and to do this early on, for the builder to be able to do this himself, is extremely useful. And so before the building continues on overhead, the drains that are laid are checked, and it gives a lot of reassurance to the builder and the designers and the owners that the work is progressing well. So it's a simple equipment, and so there will be. It's very good to see this on site. An example here of the red foam there is fire stopping foam. So these are electrical switches and sockets on a timber partition. It's a fire resisting partition, and in a fire resisting partition where penetrations are made for switches and sockets, this creates a risk of disrupting the fire resistance of the partition. So they need to be protected. So this is an example of that. It's properly done, it's labelled as having been done, and it's good to see this. This is what we should see everywhere, but it's unfortunately not always the case. Very good carpentry example there of a well-cut roof. A little bit of an overcut, but not too severe. So very good carpentry skills in evidence there. Extremely high quality brickwork. So very skilled bricklayer at work here, and so there are a few photographs of high quality work, but there's no room for complacency in the system, because we do see a lot of poor quality work and breaches of building regulations on site. Unbelievably, it's still a bit of a mystery to some builders and architects and designers how to fire stop at the top of a party wall in a terrace of houses. So we thought these days were gone, but we still come across examples of builders who there are defects at the top of the party wall, and the fire separation between houses is not what it ought to be. It's very disappointing to find this, but we are trying to stamp it out. This is a photograph of wall ties, brick outer leaf, block inner leaf, and the wall ties are inadequate, not enough of them, and they're not aligned, and it's like the block layer is not skilled, is not trained, and the wall ties seem to be a bit of a curiosity to them. It's a major structural defect. This image is of a timber floor joist built into the chimney flue. So a risk of fire developing there. This is also very disappointing to find on a building site. And we've seen several examples in the last year, disappointingly so, of structural steel and reinforced concrete, very poor steel fixing. So this example is there's rubble thrown into the corner of the arrangement here. This should be prepared for concrete to be poured over this, over the steel. There's no cover left to the shuttering on the outside. Is right up against the steel. There's no separation there, so there'll be no cover to the steel on the outer side. So the steel will deteriorate, and it's very serious defects. And another example there of concrete blocks being used to support the steel cages. A lot of rubble thrown into the trench. This foundation trench should be clean and clear of debris, and it's appalling workmanship. There's just no room. There's no room anymore in the Irish construction industry for this type of workmanship, and there is no sympathy from building control officers when this is found. It creates very serious concerns for us, and may well result in pretty short term a court order perhaps being served in the site being closed, prosecutions being taken. So this will be found. We are on the building site, so we will find this. The assigned certifier also, we're there to support the role of the assigned certifier. Any assigned certifier, I'm sure, would be appalled to find this on a site. So the Building Control Authority are there to back up the assigned certifier in making sure that the building is built in compliance with the necessary codes. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening. And we're contactable in the civic offices. We covered Dublin City Council area, and building control at dublincity.ie for anyone who has any queries on building regulations, building control regulations.